I think I'm going to start calling these little vlogs on the drive home. So today, on the drive home, here's what I'm thinking about. Now, admittedly, and I might be criticized for saying this, but I don't care. The problem in that case is not with me, it's with the critic, is that I have already recorded one vlog to post, but have chosen to substitute it with this one. So, on this drive home, I was thinking of something that I thought I would try to process here for a few minutes. And that is, well, I have this long commute to and from work, and I have lots of time to think. And in some ways and in some days, I've sort of squandered it by listening to music. Now, those who know me well enough know that I love music, especially when it's loud. So I appreciate very much my Rush and my Boston and Porcupine Tree, Dream Theater. I also love my Bach and whatnot. I also like listening to books being read, so I use an app called LibriVox that makes books available for free online, mostly classical literature read by non-professionals, read by people who volunteer their time to read books. So I like listening to that. But in my commute home, I have time to think. And one of the things that came to mind, as I interestingly did not listen to any music or listen to a book, but just enjoyed the quietness of my thoughts for a while. And by the way, that's something I think that we miss, something that we really need, is a period of quiet so we can actually hear ourselves think. The point that I want to make with this drive home, or I guess I could say, the point I'd like to drive home is I don't like to be rushed. And especially when it comes to things that matter. And one thing that I'm thinking about, for example, is when I sit down to journal at night. Now, formerly, while I was with the university before, over the years, I had time set aside in the morning when I could get my journal set up and get my day planned and my week planned and interact, reading and writing, throughout the day. And I can't do that so much now because of what I'm doing. So I have to do it at night. And truthfully, by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I'm quite tired. I am physically, mentally, at times emotionally exhausted. Some days I'll have to share some of my favorite boss stories, like one of which comes to mind of when the boss was in our store and he called over to the other store to ask an employee there to call me to ask me a question if I knew how to do such and such, and then tell the employee the answer to that question for him to call back to the boss to answer that question. And literally we were just right around the corner from one another. So fun things like that. Anyway, I digress. To sit down at night and to process my thoughts and put down on paper, I feel rushed. And okay, I think that for the most part, it could be my fault, but I feel like there are other things that do need my attention. Because one thing I am woefully guilty of nowadays is being asleep before my head hits the pillow, as it were. Sometimes watching a TV show is nearly detrimental. But anyway, sometimes when I sit down with my journal, I feel rushed. So I have to say what I want to say in there quickly, and then I find that what I've written really doesn't come out right. It wasn't really said well. So being able to sit down and write well, I don't like to be rushed. Another thing that comes to mind is one day, for example, I was with my boss. Okay, here's a boss story that ties in. When he asked me a question, and I had to think about it for a moment. And without really missing a beat, he said, "Oh, well, you don't know because you had to stop and think about it. You don't know the answer." And that made me think again on a different level. Why aren't I allowed to take the time to process? And I do like to process. So I suppose the point I'm getting at is we have time to do everything that we want to do. We make the time for the things that are most important. And in order to be well mentally, spiritually, emotionally, even physically, we need to take time. And part of that time is to slow down, is to leave ourselves room to think and to process. I suppose that if we don't have time, it's our own fault. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius took time to write notes to himself, to remind himself of many things. Some of the things he wrote are not deep. They're like little fortune cookie statements. They're just short and pithy and to the point. Nevertheless, the point I guess I'm trying to make is take time, make time, and you will have time. So these are thoughts on the drive home in the rain. And we have lots of rain here. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the drive home today. Good fortune to you. Take care. See you next time.